Hello, and welcome back to the TSA's Cognitive Enhancement Training video series. My name is Melinda.
And I'm Jeremy. Together, Melinda and I make up the Cognitive Enhancement team at Dulles Airport.
Today, we're going to be discussing how to create an effective feedback habit using 4 simple steps.
So why is feedback so important? Well, providing yourself feedback after performance or after a practice session can actually aid in learning. By providing yourself that feedback, you're able to learn policies and procedures or techniques faster. It can also aid in goal attainment. So by writing down or tracking your improvements, you can also track where you are in terms of that goal. And the third area we're going to focus on is building confidence. A lot of us tend to focus on the things that we can improve in our performance and not so much on the things that went well. By also focusing and identifying those things that were successes within our performance, we can help build confidence moving forward. In this video, we're going to discuss 4 steps to create effective feedback. The first is to select the correct lens to use. Here we're going to discuss the difference between fixed mindset and growth mindset. If you're unfamiliar with those terms, I highly encourage you to check out the video for mindsets. Step number 2 is to identify what's within your control. Step 3, we're going to talk about the different elements that are going to be needed to make your feedback effective. And the last step is how you can turn this process into a habit.
If a person is tethered to a fixed mindset, this will have a direct impact on how they perceive both their successes and their failures. Let's first consider successes. Remember that if someone has a fixed mindset, they tend to believe that their abilities are set in stone and cannot be improved. Imagine if a fixed-minded TSO was given an exam about TSA protocols and scored a 100%. When you ask them how they did so well, they simply say, "I guess I'm just a good test taker." What they might be failing to tell you is how much they studied for the exam. Their mindset is causing them to attribute their success to being a good test taker, rather than attributing their success to the effort that they put into studying. Now let's consider failures. If some type of challenge or obstacle causes a fixed-minded person to initially fail, they may give up on trying to overcome it altogether. After all, why would they try again if they don't believe that they can improve their own abilities? Even if a friend or colleague tries to give them advice on how to improve, they'll be likely to just disregard their feedback. Imagine a fixed-minded TSO who consistently has confrontations with passengers. When a supervisor asks the TSO about their behavior, the TSO will be likely to say something along the lines of, "Sorry, but I can't help it. I have a short temper." Instead of trying to learn some type of emotional regulation or de-escalation technique so that they can have better exchanges with passengers in the future, the fixed-minded TSO will be stuck in their old ways and unlikely to ever improve.
On the other end of the spectrum, a growth-minded individual would see their successes as true to their ability at the time or authentic to their performance level. They would also be able to identify what's within their control so that they can influence it next time, particularly what went well so that they can sustain that over time. They would also see their successes as a confidence booster. They would take that confidence and let it become global or bleed into other areas of their performance. Now, they would look at their failures as something that they had the influence to improve upon. They'd identify those areas of where is going to be the biggest impact to my performance and what can I do about it. They're also going to isolate that failure so it does not affect other performances that they have. They're going to see this failure as inauthentic to their true ability. Hey, it happened. I know I can improve upon it. I know this is not the best I can do. So what am I going to do about it?
Which mindset do you think would be the most beneficial to have when giving yourself feedback on a performance?
Now, in order for us to use feedback effectively, we must be able to identify our controllables and focus our resources on those. Controllables are anything that we can exert influence over in order to give ourselves a better chance to succeed in a given task or scenario. This would include things such as our attitude or our effort level. By focusing only on our controllables and ignoring what's out of our control, we can make the most of our internal resources, such as our energy, thoughts, and attention. This in turn makes a positive outcome much more likely. Over the next several moments, some situations that are relevant to your job are going to appear on the screen. As each one appears, I would like for you to consider whether or not it would constitute a controllable. Remind yourself that in all situations, our mindset has a major impact on how we give ourselves feedback. Remember that example I gave earlier of how a fixed-minded person attributed their success on a test to luck rather than their own study habits? If we can acknowledge that something like luck is out of our control, then hyper-focusing on it won't help us grow. We're best served focusing on the things that are in our control, as this will give us a greater chance to sustain our successes as well as improve upon our failures. Since energy is a finite resource, it's important that we identify what's in our control and focus on that. Focusing on things out of our control is simply a waste of our precious energy. So the next time you're tempted to stew over a difficult passenger, focus instead on how you can best react to that passenger.
There are certain elements you should include in your feedback to make it the most effective. The first is to take a look at your overall performance. Was it mostly successful? Was there a lot of room for improvement? Once you give yourself a quote-unquote grade for your performance, then you can take a look at your areas of improvement. Try to identify 2 to 3 areas of improvement. And in each of those areas, identify a goal or an action plan that you can take to then improve your performance for next time. The last element should be to identify those areas of successes. Again, try to identify 2 to 3 areas of successes that are within your control so that you can repeat them next time. The last step to making feedback effective is to make it a habit. After every performance, after every deliberate practice session, sitting down, writing out or thinking about your feedback. Now, this is not going to look the same for everybody. For me, I personally like paper and pencil. I keep track of all my feedback in a notebook so that I can go back and track my progress. That helps me maintain my confidence, but also achieve my goals because I get to see the progress I'm making each time I teach. Now, I know Jeremy uses something different, so let's take a look at what he uses.
One tool we can use to make feedback more of a habit is with our cell phone. In this day and age, many of us are already glued to our devices, so why not use it as a tool to help us with our personal growth? Jotting something down in your Notes app while it's still fresh could be one way to go about it. Consider when you are coming off a rotation at the checkpoint and have a short break before your next rotation begins. This could be the perfect window to give yourself some feedback.
And that concludes our how-to guide to create an effective feedback habit. I challenge you now to think back in the last 24 hours of a performance you've had and give yourself some feedback following our 4 steps. If you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact us in the following emails.